Hey guys and girls, Board now back with you on this video. I start a new season of Ozark, so this is the start of season 2. Season 2, episode 1. The episode is called Reparations, so full spoilers from the start, just in case you haven't seen up to this point in the show, as I continue to build and work my way up to being up to date for the final episodes, which drop at the end of April. So here we go, and obviously I was positive on the season 1 finale and all the things that set up moving forward, and I continue to be positive in this opening episode, bar one sort of like little subplot and storyline which I'll get to. But I'll say first of all, there's only one place to start, and that is with the new character which is introduced to the show in this season 2 opener, and that is the character of Helen, played by award-winning actress Janet McTee, who's a great addition to the cast. And Helen is the lawyer to the Keitel officially, and she shows up in Ozark looking for answers from the birds about where the hell has Del gone, because the last she knew he was coming up to Ozark to try and sort things out and get a deal done. And so a big part of the suspense of this episode is the birds trying to work with the Snells to try and cover up Del's death and trying to, clear their tracks and make it look as though they don't know what happened to him. Then he came in, they give her a story and then say he's just left and he hasn't been seen since. So they're obviously acting like nothing's wrong. Helen's very suspicious. Matee's very good. You really believe her as this sort of savvy, sort of manipulative type lawyer sort. But she has a really sort of icy presence. It's the sort of performance, I think, a bit like Mullen's performance, where she can strike fear in your heart without doing much. You can definitely see how she would be like a Keitel lawyer, how she's super smart and savvy, but also definitely has a presence to her. So it's a great addition to the cast. I really like the interactions between them, and she just manages to be intimidating without doing much. But she is obviously not going to take their word for it, so she starts sending her men out to start looking, and we sort of see how they do have a way of obviously going about things the way a cartel might go about, and just intimidating people left, right and centre. At one point she finds out that Ash used Del's credit card. They get the footage from the store, and Helen shows this to the birds. So this is how they figure out then Garcia and Del have been killed off, and she demands reparations from the birds, from the Snells too, but without revealing to them exactly what that entails. But later in the episode, Jacob takes things in his own hands when he kills Ash out of the blue, to the torment of Darlene. So we see that Jacob's very much a pragmatist and a bit sort of a businessman, but to keep the peace he does do this to make amends. It also puts Helen in a more powerful position as well, and things can move forward. But obviously Darlene is just pissed at what Jacob did, and it's obviously going to lead to more tensions in their relationship. But yeah, another interesting moment with the Snells there. Helen makes it clear that she wants in on the casino deal, then that they want a big split of the money. Marty has to be the in-between guy again. He has to try and bring peace and try and negotiate a deal, and so that everyone's on board and happy. Wendy particularly is then she starts using her political power, her political savvy, which is another good character beat because it relates to her past and her experiences there, and it sort of makes her a lot more proactive than maybe she was at times in season 1, because the main issue they have with clearing this casino is that there's a local law that bans the use of casinos. So they need to find a politician or they need to get the votes in Congress to pass the casino bill, and they actively go after this politician. Like they keep showing up at his events, trying to like sweet talk him. He's not really having any of it. But by the end of the episode, they're starting to apply more pressure. And Wendy makes a connection with this character Charles, who is like some sort of political fixer, and his whole thing is then he can get dirt on politicians to obviously try and force them to do things. And Marty invited to like this big political function, and it's just quite the scene because they get to like dress all fancy, and we just see another side of the sort of levels they'll have to go to try and get things done and to try and keep ahead. That's what Ozark's all about, essentially, is you've got desperate people doing desperate things and obviously going to different lengths to keep themselves in the game, to keep themselves alive. And that's what we see at this like sort of plush political like function that they attend. But it's still a long way off at the end of the episode. There's still a lot of like finagling to do, if that's even a word, but a lot of manipulating to do before they get the bill passed. Also, the birds keep the truth about what happened to Garcia and also to Dale from their children. Jonah and Charlotte are starting to ask more questions, but they decide to cover it up and not tell them the full truth. So that's obviously going to be an ongoing thing where their children are going to start to want more answers. They're going to get more frustrated with all the secrets and all the upheaval. They've obviously got a little sense of the pressure that came at the end of last season. So that stuff is going to continue as well. Marty gives Ruth a job in this episode. He gives her more power within the company and sort of more responsibility. Her dad, Cade, is the only stuff I wasn't that keen on, and it's just because I'm not really sold on Cade yet as a character. He seems a bit of an inconvenience to the plot, but he gets released in this episode. He gets parole, and that's because Ruth speaks up for him, speaks about his character and gets out. He is such a monster, such a in-your-face sort of slimy sort of father figure, villain. He's obviously sticking his nose in Ruth's business, dictate how she should handle things with Wyatt and around like the home, if you like. We see he's a very old-fashioned masculine sort of figure who sort of wants to take control of his family and butt in, even though he's not been around. He's been, locked up for years. Obviously, he still had that influence from prison. Obviously, about Russ and about Boyd being killed, and by the end of the episode, Ruth has confessed about that. She did it, and Knight gives the reason. She sort of spins it a bit. Then, Russ was talking to the FBI. He was like an informant, which obviously is true, but that's not technically the reason she killed Russ. More drama with Wyatt because Cade now has this over Ruth and sort of used it to blackmail her, but there was something really cringe about their interactions in this episode, and just the way, at the end of the episode, he comes in and sort of lays next to her, which is sort of his way of showing fatherly love in his own mind, but it's a very cringe and creepy scene. So that's probably the one down point from the episode, is I'm not really into Cade at the moment. I'm not convinced about him and his storyline. Season 2, it's off to a really solid start. I think some good stuff once again. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Please like and subscribe as always. Share me out on social media. You can also support the channel on Patreon, patreon.com/boardnow. And I'll be back with more Ozark soon. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.